Hey folks, Eddie from Brain Pulp TV, back with more Magic Online, and today we're doing something a little bit different because Wizards has released something that's a little bit different. It is a full Innistrad sealed 1 week 5 match league. As the name sort of suggests, it's only on for 1 week, and I didn't know about it for the first few days, so there's a limited amount of time for me to go through the matches from this league, but still, we're going to complete it. However, because there's a limited time, I'm not going to be able to act on the feedback you guys may have as far as my deck build goes. I still would like to hear what you have to say, so please leave that in the comments section. But yeah, I won't be able to act on it. Also, like with most 5 match leagues, I am probably going to be doing the card pool and deck building section along with the first 2 matches 1 week, and then the following 3 matches the following Monday. Anyways, now that that's it, let's get back to what this league is, and it is the full Innistrad sealed league. Now, what that means is they've taken both blocks of Innistrad. So you're taking 2 packs from Innistrad, 2 packs from Dark Ascension. That's the right one, right? Yeah, I think so. 2 packs from Eldritch Moon and 1 pack from Shadows over Innistrad. I think I got the packs and the pack numbers correct there. So if not, I apologize. Anyways, you take all those cards from those 4 sets, open them up, and create a deck from them. Just like with the regular league, only you're using more sets, which is kind of fun. And the sets go well together so far as I can see from the card pool. But you guys can judge that for yourself because we will talk about the card pool right now. Now, one interesting sort of behind the scenes fun fact is this is the second time I have to record this part. Why? Because I forgot to remove that. Yes, the Brain Pulp TV overlay, which was blocking the card previews. And that's kind of the whole reason I have this set up, is so that the card previews show up for you guys to see and make it easier for you, especially when I do things like this, like talking about card pools. And speaking of the card pool, let's start off with the rares. Right off the bat, we have a mythic in Sigarda, Heron's Grace. It is a 5-drop, 3, 1 green, 1 white, gets you a 4/5 legendary angel creature with flying. You and humans you control have hexproof. Pay 2, exile a card from your graveyard, put a 1/1 white human soldier creature token onto the battlefield. A strong card I've played with in the past and has done good things for me in the past as well too. I don't think it's ever taken me completely to an undefeated streak, but still it's done well. It makes me want to play green-white, but it's still early. We don't know for sure if that's one of the things that we're going to play, though. If you sort of look off in the corner where you see the decks that I've already built, you know that I am playing white-green with both of my decks that I built. But for now, let's ignore that and move on to the next card, which is Altered Ego for X2, a green and a blue, gets you a 0/0 shapeshifter creature. Altered Ego can't be countered. You may have Altered Ego enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it enters with X additional 1/1 counters on it. Makes me want to play a bit of blue as well, too. I am going to be playing, or I have built, a white, green, blue deck. Both my decks are 3 colors, which is something I normally don't like to do, but I think it's useful with the 2 decks that I built. Anyways, moving on, let's get to the next one. We have Back from the Brink, which is a card I never really knew about. It is a 6-drop enchantment for 4 and 2 blue. Exile a creature. You get an enchantment, and then when the enchantment's out, you can exile a creature card from your graveyard, pay its mana cost, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that card, activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. We have Back from the Brink, which is a 6-drop enchantment for 4 and 2 blue. Exile a creature card from your graveyard, pay its mana cost, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that card, activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. Now, originally when I read this card, I for some reason thought that once you used the ability, that the enchantment was going to be discarded or sacrificed or something. That's not the case. You can continue to do it. So you can bring back a bunch of low-cost creatures as opposed to having to save it for like one really powerful creature and then losing the enchantment. So this card is actually a bit better than I thought it was. Still kind of expensive, but late game it can be crazy, I think. May make me want to do one small change to my white-blue-green deck, but we'll see. Then we have Clifftop Retreat, which is a land. Clifftop Retreat enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a mountain or plains. Tap it for red or white. Very nice mana fixing if we decide to go with both red and white. We have Gyre Reach Sanitarium, legendary land. Tap it for 1 colorless to your mana pool. Pay 2, tap it. Each player draws a card, then discards a card, which can be a nice madness enabler or just put stuff in our graveyard that we want in our graveyard. Speaking of stuff that we may want in our graveyard, we have Grave Crawlers. So for 1 black gets you a 2/1. So it's sort of like a Savannah Lions in black. However, it can't block, and you may cast Gravecrawler from your grave card. Grave card from your graveyard as long as you control a zombie. So it's got a nice little upside, makes it difficult to do away with sometimes. So not making me immediately want to go into black, but definitely something that's going to be in our deck if we do decide to go with black. And then last but not least, we have a foil copy of Thing in the Ice. So for 1 and 1 blue, you get a 0/4 horror creature. It's got Defender. Thing in the Ice enters the battlefield with 4 ice counters on it. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, remove an ice counter from Thing in the Ice. Then, if it has no counters on it, transform it. And it transforms into Awoken Horror, which is a 7/8 Kraken Horror. When this creature transforms into Awoken Horror, return all non-horror creatures to their owner's hands. I like Thing in the Ice. I don't think I've ever had a real chance to play with it in draft or seals, and I've always wanted to. So I don't want to super force it, but I really want to try to somewhat force this card into my deck. Still, it requires sorcery as an instance to really make it shine. So if we end up having a really, really creature heavy deck and not many of those, then obviously it's not the one to put in the deck. But still, we will see. So that's the last rare we have. So now we're going to get into the rest of the cards, and I'm just going to separate these by color. So now in white, we have Chaplain's Blessing, Doomed Traveler, Bonds of Faith, which is a kind of a cool card because Pacifism is one of my all-time favorite cards as far from a design perspective. And this is Pacifism unless it's going onto a human, and then it's a 2/2 buff. So it's kind of multi-purpose. It seems like it could be a good card. I really want to try to include this in a deck. Anyways, moving on, we have Devilthorn Fox, Feeling of Dread, which has flashback with blue cost to it, Guardian of Pilgrims, Urgent Exorcism, Spectral Rider, Borrowed Grace, Drogskull, I believe that's the pronunciation, Shieldmate, Fiend Hunter, Silver Strike, and Faithbearer Paladin. So you can see there is some very nice cards in white, which is good because I'm really hoping to play Sigarda's Grace, Sigarda Heron's Grace, and having good, strong white cards makes that seem a lot more feasible. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's see what we have in blue. We have Delver of Secrets, which I'm super excited about, and much like Thing in the Ice, I'm kind of hoping to put this in a deck. I never got to play, as far as draft goes or sealed, the original Innistrad block, so I do have copies of this card for my personal collection that I like putting in certain decks. But I really, really want to be able to play this card. Once again, it requires instants and sorceries to shine, much like with Thing in the Ice, so I can't necessarily force it in every deck, but I think as long as we have a decent number of those, this might be included in any deck that we build with this that includes blue. Next up, we have Erdwall Illuminator, Furtive Homunculus, which is a mouthful for me to say, Jace's Scrutiny, Nagging Thoughts, Take Inventory, Tattered Haunter, Thing in the Ice we talked about, Catalog, Convolute, Frightful Delusion, which I like the artwork for, Grizzled Angler, Headless Scob, Claustrophobia, Makeshift Mauler, and moving down, Gone Missing, and Back from the Brink, which we talked about before. So there is definitely blue cards which are worth playing, which makes me really happy because I really wanted to play with Thing in the Ice. However, let's take a look at black and see if there's anything there for us. We have Gravecrawler, which we talked about before, Gruesome Deformity, Vampire Cutthroat, Ghoulcaller's Accomplice, a card I've played with before in the past and quite like, Manor Skeleton, Murderous Compulsion, another favorite of mine, Rancid Rats, Rottenheart Ghoul, Sightless Ghoul, Bitterheart Witch, and Certain Death. So there are some nice cards in black. The only problem is if you look at it, how it compares to the other card pools, it's lacking in numbers as far as the cards we have in black. So the quality seems to be there, but I don't think the numbers would allow it to be anything but a splash. And given some of the multicolored cards you're going to see or that you've already seen, I don't think black is the best splashable color for the decks that we could possibly build. However, moving on, let's get to red and see what we have there. We have Dual Shot. We have Faithless Looting, which is a card I'm not sure how to value. To me, it seems good, but that doesn't mean I'm right on that. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards for 1 sorcery. It's got flashback as well, too. So it could be a madness enabler. It could just be good card draw or filtering at least. So yeah, I think it's good, and I will probably include. Well, I will include. I'm giving you a bit of a spoiler. I will include this card in my white, red, and green deck. But I still don't know if that's the right thing to do. But whatever, we'll figure that out later. Next up, we have Forge Devil, Furor of the Bitten, Lightning Axe, Skin Invasion, Ashmouth Hound, Burning Oil, which is a instant, which is 1 and 1 red. Burning Oil does 3 damage to target attacking or blocking creature, which is good, and has flashback. Once again, one of my favorite mechanics. I don't know if I already mentioned that before. I mentioned it the previous time I recorded this, but flashback is one of my favorite mechanics that Wizards ever came out with, and it's 3 and 1 white. So it makes Boros seem very relevant, especially with some of the other cards that you're going to see, but I'll get to those in a second. Moving on, we have 2 copies of Curse of the Pierced Heart, which is another card I'm not exactly sure how to value. It seems like it puts your opponent on a clock, and it could be very annoying, but I don't know if it's the best card to put in with a 2-drop slot. We have 2 of them, so we could really put pressure on our opponent. But once again, I don't know how to value it, so I'm not sure if I will include it in my decks. I can't actually remember if I include it in the deck. We'll see in a little bit. But yeah, so Curse of the Pierced Heart. Then we have Fling, Gibbering Fiend, Nightbird's Clutches, which is another card with flashback, Make Mischief, Breakneck Rider, Fiery Temper, which is a great card, Afflicted Deserter, and Hulking Devil is the last red card. Okay, starting off in green, we have Clipped Wings, Dark Thicket Wolf, Full Moon's Rise, Moon Mist, Quilled Wolf, Somberwall Dryad, Clinging Mists. Clinging Mists is an interesting card. I mentioned with the Pacifism is one of my favorite cards from design standpoint, and Fog has always been sort of a favorite of mine. It's been around forever, and Clinging Mists is an interesting take on Fog. So it's 2 and 1 green, which makes it obviously more expensive than Fog. Instant, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. However, it has Fateful Hour, which I'd never heard of before until looking at these cards here. If you have 5 or less life, tap all attacking creatures. Those creatures don't untap during their controller's next untap step. When I saw this card, I just immediately thought of all the times where I've died because my opponent has swung in for one final push. And not only would this prevent that from happening, but it will tap them down for the following turn, which could really make for a decent comeback. Still, I don't know for sure if it's great or good or bad or whatever, but I do want to include this in the deck because it seems like a fun card. Next up, we have Graph Mole, then Root Out, Spidery Grass, which seems good because I like Aim High, and this seems to be Aim High. It costs a little bit more, but it's got a bit more of an upside. Villagers of Erstwald, Woodcutter's Grit, Briarbitch Patrol, which I think is a very good card, Make a Wish, and Village Survivors. Village Survivors, once again, has Fateful Hour like Clinging Mist does. Not quite as impressive as far as what happens with Fateful Hour. It's still good, but I would probably play a 4/5 creature with Vigilance for 5 anyways, so it's just a little bit of icing on the cake. Now, let's move on to the multicolored cards that we have. First up, we have Ride Down, which I think is a really great card. Makes me want to play white-red. Along with the other red cards we had, it really seems like Boros could be definitely something that would be worthwhile playing. Then we have, as we mentioned before, Sigarda and Altered Ego, both of which have pushed me into making one deck at least that is white, green, and blue. So now let's end things off by showing the land and the colorless cards that we have. Starting off, we have Clifftop Retreat, which we talked about before, which is good mana fixing. Gear Reach Sanitarium, which we talked about before as well too, which I'm not super crazy about, but in certain decks I think it'd be quite good. I just don't think it'd be good for any of the decks that we could build. Shimmering Grotto, which is a common land. You can tap it for 1 colorless, or you can pay 1, tap it, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, which is really good considering the fact that we're going to be playing, or I've created 2 decks that use 3 colors, so I'm very happy to have a copy of this card in our decks. Next up, we have Cellar Door, which is an interesting card I never heard of before. I really wanted to play this card when I saw what it was. It's a 2-drop artifact. You can pay 3, tap it. Target player puts the bottom card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. If it's a creature card, you put a 2/2 black zombie creature token on the battlefield. When I saw it, I immediately envisioned creating this really creature-heavy deck with this card in it that would almost, not necessarily guarantee, but would have a high percentage of a chance of being able to create a token every single turn for 3. Don't know if I should include it. I would have liked to have included it. I don't think I did in either of the decks, but this is a card I think I want to play around with now in some constructed decks, now that I've seen it. However, we're not doing constructed, we are doing sealed, so let's move on to the next card. It's some equipment. We have Executioner's Hood and Heavy Mattock. And last, but possibly not least, we have Warden of the Wall. I'm going to read this, and you'll see why in just a second. For 3, you get an artifact. Warden of the Wall enters the battlefield tapped. Tap it to add 1 colors to your mana pool. As long as it's not your turn, Warden of the Wall is a 2/3 gargoyle artifact with blank. They left it blank. They didn't say what it comes with. I'm assuming it's flying, and I think, let's see, we can... Yes, okay. As long as it's not your turn, Warden of the Wall is a 2/3 gargoyle artifact creature with flying. I've never seen a card that simply doesn't have the last line of text in it before. So yeah, I'm not going to play it anyways, but I'm curious if it's still programmed to have flying, even though it doesn't have the text. I'm sure the two don't have anything to do with each other, but yeah, still, it's a weird little hiccup that I guess Wizards did. And now that we've gone over the card pool, let's get to the decks themselves. There's one deck which I think is more powerful, and the other deck that I think is going to be a bit more fun. If you've seen previous videos that I've done when it comes to playing Magic Online, you know which one I'm probably going to play then, because I apparently enjoy losing. But before we get to the one that I think is more fun, let's get to the one I think is more powerful, which is the white, red, and green deck. So we'll start off with the mana base for this one. We have Clifftop Retreat, which is good mana fixing. We have 4 forests. We have 5 mountains. We have 6 plains and the Shimmering Grotto. Now for the rest of the cards, starting with the 1-drops, we have Doomed Traveler, Faithless Looting, Lightning Axe, Skin Invasion, Bonds of Faith, Guardian of Pilgrims, Burning Oil, Dark Thicket Wolf, Quilled Wolf, Ride Down, Drog's Call, Shieldmate, I probably pronounce that differently every single time I say it, Fiend Hunter, Breakneck Rider, Fiery Temper, almost got ahead of myself there, Clinging Mists, Spidery Grasp, Villagers of Estwald, Silver Strike, Afflicted Deserter, Briarbridge Patrol, which is a very nice card, I think I mentioned before, Faithbearer Paladin, Village Surveyors, Survivors, and Sigarda, Heron's Grace, which is the card which made me want to play white-green to begin with. So there you go. I think this is the more powerful of the 2 decks that I've built. However, the deck that we're going to start off with is the deck I'm going to show you now, which is the white, blue, green deck. And yes, I have yet to come up with clever names for my decks. Okay, so starting off with the mana base, we have 4 forests, we have 5 islands, and we have 7 plains, I believe, and then a Shimmering Grotto, much like with the other deck. Now, once again, starting off the 1-drops, we have Doomed Traveler, and then we have Delver of Secrets. This is a deck that doesn't have a ton of instant sorceries. It's got 8 other spells other than creatures. 6 of those, I believe, are sorceries or instants. So it doesn't give us a huge advantage when it comes to Delver Secrets, but I think it's enough where it's worth putting Delver still in. That said, let's move on to the 2-drops. We have Bonds of Faith, Feeling of Dread, Guardian of Pilgrims, Spectral Rider, Thing in the Ice. Once again, much like with Delver, it's more useful the more sorceries instants that we have. However, we do have at least one that has flashback, so that does slightly increase the number of instants that we can cast, but hopefully Thing in the Ice is not just going to be a dead card in this deck. If it is, we can always take it out or switch to the white, red, and green deck. But we're not going to do that right now. We're going to continue on with what cards we have in this deck. And the next up, we have Borrowed Grace. We have Drog's Call, Shieldmate. Every time I say it differently, I swear. Fiend Hunter, Headless Scob, Claustrophobia, Clinging Mists, Spidery Grasp, Villagers of Estwald, Silver Strike, Makeshift Mauler, Briarbridge Patrol, Faithbearer Paladin, Gone Missing, Village Survivors, Sigarda, Heron's Grace, and Altered Ego. Altered Ego, of course, being the card which really made me want to try to splash blue, and Delver and Thing in the Ice being the ones that just pushed me over the edge when it came to that. So yes, this is not, in my opinion, going to be as strong as the other one, but because I'm a glutton for punishment, we are going to start off our matches using this deck. However, we're going to be starting the matches in the next part. So that is it for this part. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And even though I can't act on certain advice when it comes to the deck build, please don't let that stop you from putting that in the comment section, because I can definitely use it for future reference. As well, too, if you just want to give me some well wishes or if you have any questions, please leave that in the comment section below as well, too. You can also follow and contact us directly on Twitter. It is at BrainPulpTV, or you can follow and contact me on Twitter at Geek Tragedy. And now that all that is said, take care, everyone. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. It means a lot to us, and I will see you all very soon.